All right, thank you for checking out this video. I want to just go over the details while I comment on them. So there's a little more clarity in how and why things appear the way they do. Okay, so I've had Stephanie already read over this, and you can pause the video to read it. However, this should be the draft for the course description of the gaming workshop. And moving on, assuming that you pause to read it, we have the learning objectives. Now, let me try and put this into, is there a way to do it? How do you do full screen? Anyway, we've got 21 learning objectives to coincide with the CEs. And again, you can pause it to review these. I'll send the documents along with the video. So the learning objectives are stated here. Again, these were approved by Stephanie to go into the gaming. I'm going to scroll down now to the bottom half. And these are going to be pretty much a guideline for the order. I've kind of created a main topics outline, again, to coincide with the order of the presentation. Let me try to zoom out a little bit. There we go. And for you to pause and review, here are the main topics. Now, this order I tried to follow along with as much as possible with the slides that I have. And I would like to go through these now as best as I can. And so just a couple of introduction slides. This video is a David Foster video. I'm not sure if you want to put it at the beginning, but I just figured it was an interesting way to start because he does dial back from the 1990s, early 2000s, before he passed away, and he predicts a lot of what we're experiencing now. I do talk about the book. We bring it up as as a helper, as an aid throughout this workshop, and then kind of highlighting again the main topics that we'll be covering. We point out that it's related to the task model from Facing the Shadows, and it's been adapted to the gaming workbook. And then to bring a little bit of relation to the attendees, I wanted to talk about mobile phones right away, just to let them know, just to give them some stuff to relate to. And I'm thinking about putting this on the quiz as a question. There's some statistics about use in the United States that they can reflect on initially. And then if you want to include a exercise or performable, there's the digital device inventory. That's what the next two slides cover, and that is just to get a grip on what we use and where, how often, stuff like that. This is a workbook exercise, however, I think it could also be applied to the clinicians. And so we touch on what denial is and how we may be denying, the extent, of what our use is. And so then we go into the generation stats, just to give an overall view of who's using and how much. So we've got the ages of adults who use the internet with the percentages highlighted here. Here's a little more of a breakdown into the technology and how millennials are kind of top in all of those. This is video gamers by age, porn use by age, and then sports betting. We go into just a small example of a 12-year-old, I guess, and how frequently they tap that screen. We do include Generation Alpha information here. I thought this video, I'm going to break it into two parts, but I thought that was a helpful video. This man talks about the ease of addiction and gaming addiction, how easy it was for him to slip back into habits that he had not addressed in over 30 years. It's kind of cool. And then we jump into what addiction is. And so task 2 is highlighted here because then we want to make sure that everyone understands what addiction or what it's considered now in the DSM-5, where it came from, and then the criteria. This is opposition to calling it an addiction on its own. And so I wanted to highlight that it is also not the most popular opinion in some cases. World Health Organization definition, and then we go into worldwide statistics. And so let's go. We talk about users. This is a 2021 statistic, and it shows the growth between 2020 and 2021, how much of an increase there was. We go into Asia, which includes China and South Korea. And then a little more on South Korea, how easy it is for them to access the internet, as well as China. China does have a few more rules according to their use in the public. However, it's different in South Korea and obviously the United States. I included two videos. One is on South Korea. This one's on China. You can take your pick or use neither. I thought they were both pretty powerful. Then we have this guy who's more related to the video on China. This was the study that he conducted and found out reasons why kids are using the internet, and then statistics. In the United States, we do touch on that. I can get more statistics for this section. But then we go to clinical considerations, which are spelled out here. This is what we will be addressing throughout the workshop. Talk about boundaries. One of the test questions could be, to pick out some of these boundaries, why they fail. Then we talk about child development. We'll just jump right into the basics and how this is a positive reflection of socializing on the internet. This is going to point out co-occurring disorders that may be prevalent and just how to recognize them. And so we talk about depression, loneliness, anxiety, ADHD, and gender dysphoria, how they may present in clients who have both. The internet has an antisocial side. This is going to start that topic. Unhealthy interruptions in child development due to technology would be highlighted here. There's going to be some brain scans. This is going to be a positive effect from reading, and then compared to the negative effects of screen time. Talk about white matter. This video is Growing Up Digital, which is a Canadian effort that it began in Canada and now moves to Australia, which is where this video is based. And then after all of this discussion, I want to point out the consequences on social development. Disinhibition is a thing. This is where people get angry for no reason, or extra angry and start to act out in that way. I pointed out the mirror of Ersed, as it's stated in the book, because the internet gives us this access that we speak, or that we want. And what else does people want? They want relationships. And so we go into why relationships form online. There's some reasons that were found, and then it kind of steers off into LGBT and how they how their engagement with the internet is a little bit different than the heteronormative population. We talk about cyberbullying because that relates to everybody. Motives for internet use is going to be here. And so these are all going to, we're going to probably expand on the attachment here. But this is going to be part of the quiz on the final part. We venture into the overlap of social media and everything else. Toxic culture. We bring up Gamergate, which was a cultural war at the time. How it influenced criminals. And then we touch on the manosphere and how to recognize those types of individuals. And then the consequences on social development that occurs. Task 3, the tasks kind of come loose here in reference, but I'm going to try and apply them. So we talk about the third task, how it's surrendering to the process, and that's typically where they begin to admit there's a problem. And so this test was, I found it on the internet, and it was designed to coincide with the criteria that was in the DSM-5. And so I included the test and the scoring as a reference. Haven't gotten to this yet, unless this is all kind of the same thing. There we go. I'm not sure if you want to include anything about the SDMI as a reference, but I'm going to mention it. Now there's a separation in material from this to kind of just the histories. And so we go from history of the internet and its exponential growth, which you can see, how it came from the .com to 2.0, which is kind of where we are now and evolving. There's lots of things the internet can do for you. Shopping, work from home, communicating with people, and sending email and messages. Then we go into pornography. We're going to talk about where it came from and why it became stigmatized. Therefore, it became more difficult to access. Films started increasing access. Magazines started increasing access. I liked this video, so I included that. It's a Woody Harrelson old movie. I forget what it's called. Oh, Bananas right here. Then the evolution to the 90s when the internet came around, and since then, what has come about with internet searches. And this book I thought was interesting, so I included that. I haven't read it, I just found it. Then we go into the history of gaming. Now there is a lot more material that needs to be included, and so it will be included in the digital materials. But this is an overview of the history of gaming, from when it's relevant around the 70s to, it's mostly video games is what we're talking about. And then this is relating video games to the hero's journey. I didn't know if that was something you wanted to pull from, so I did find information there. Then I go into talk about avatars because they kind of give us that sense of being the hero. And avatars have only gotten more personalized over time, and so it brings us into that fantasy a little bit easier. I talk about it here with a study that was conducted using this questionnaire, and they use the questionnaire along with these avatars. And the avatars are very inhuman in the first one, a little more human appearance but no facial features in the second one, and then more human-like in this third one. And what it shows was that the realistic human-like avatars produced a greater sense of co-presence than the unrealistic, and it was kind of a scale that you saw that co-presence increase the more human the avatars became. And so I thought this was an interesting study because now our avatars are, you were able to create them